Hi, Gary Stearman coming to you from Prophecy Watchers, and I want to tell you that October 10th through 13th is coming soon, right, Bob?
Absolutely. Watchers Weekend coming to Norman, Oklahoma. We're going to be streaming 14 speakers, some of the leading Bible prophecy experts, into homes literally all over the world. L.A. Marzulli, Bill Salas, Bill Koenig, Mark Hitchcock, the list goes on. And when I say all over the world, I mean literally the four corners of the earth. People are going to be streaming from India, from Israel, from Australia, from Canada, from Singapore, from Cyprus. It's an exciting time to be able to sit in your own home and watch literally our entire conference. Watch it on your laptop, watch it on your desktop. If you have Apple TV, you can watch it right on the big screen. And that's exciting. It's a new opportunity that has really kind of changed the world in a lot of ways.
And Bob, I want to emphasize it's easy. For those who are not technically oriented and they're saying, oh, I could never handle live streaming, it's easy. And this is the beautiful thing about modern technology. It's gotten more widespread, it's gotten easier, they do the work, you sit down, you relax, and you join us. It's going to be quite an event.
ProphecyWatchers.com, that's the place to go to register.
I'm sure you've heard of the term Jubilee, but what do you really know about a Jubilee? Well, here to clarify and to define the term Jubilee is author and lecturer Jonathan Cahn. And Jonathan, pleasure to have you back.
Always a blessing to be.
And we're going to start today by talking about your book. It's called The Oracle. And the word Jubilee is very important in this book.
Yes.
It takes on a great importance.
Yes.
And let's define it. Let's talk about the Jubilee, biblically speaking, and then we'll get up to speed with your book.
Yeah, the Jubilee is an amazing thing that it's an ordinance by God saying that every 50th year you can have a year of restoration, a year of freedom, a year, whatever you lost, you go back. It's a year of return. If you lost your ancestral home and somebody's on it, year of Jubilee, you get back in there and you take your land again. It's restoration, return, it's all those things, undoing all those things that were wrong, Jubilee. So it's linked to everything. Now the mystery of the Jubilee is linked to every, from end time prophecy. It ends up being a master template behind end time prophecy, the mystery of return. It's also mystery of what God has used this.
You know, I hadn't thought about return.
Yes.
Because we all think about Israel being returned to the land.
Yes.
But we don't associate that.
Yeah. Everything's in the end time. Well, I think this will be when we get to the other doors. But the return, the theme of return with Jubilee is not only for Israel. It has to do with the church, has to do with the world. It has to do with everything. Has to do with the Lord. So yeah, the Jubilee is really the master thing that God gave, not only for the end time prophecy, Israel returning to its land that it lost, but also for history. It affects world wars. It's everything. It's behind everything, and this is what's in the presented in the Oracle. Is probably the largest scale mystery I've ever opened. And it also is our salvation. It also is behind current events. Even Donald Trump. We throw this in because we're going to get to it. Okay. Maybe not this one. Maybe the next one. And also the future as well, and where we are right now. So this is the Oracle is really opening up the largest mystery I've ever done, and we do it through to say who the Oracle, people saying, what's the Oracle? Like the Harbinger, I framed it in a kind of adventure, but it's all real. You're gonna get so much I would say information revelation. But the thing is that you're gonna go on a journey, and there's a man called the Oracle, like a prophet, who's on a mountain, and he's gonna reveal these things, open up one door, and it's done as doors. That there's 7 doors to open, and each door has a stream of mysteries of God, and each one leads to the next one. And we just, in the last program, we touched on the first and second door, and I can only touch on a few things from it because there's so much. But we are up to the 3rd door, and I think we'll get to the 4th.
And now, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
And this has a great part to play in your book. You talk about something called the Jubilean Code. Now, it's one thing to talk about a Jubilee.
Yes.
You talk about a Jubilean Code.
Yeah.
So
one of the things is, we'll get to a specific mystery here, which is really cool about that. But one of the things about it is that that, yeah, every 50 years, starting with a certain date, and amazingly, prophetic events take place, and they're always linked to the restoration of Israel. The 50th year is going to be linked to return home, from the land to Jerusalem. We're going to see one of them here as we do it. But like clockwork, and even up to our day, and in the administration of the present president, it has all happened like clockwork. And it's not only the year, Gary, that we'll see, but it's also within the year. There are all these mysteries that take place, that point things down to the timing, to the date even. We're going to see several mysteries that link that God is showing us the date. So it's an amazing thing that God has woven into all human history.
So your book is fiction, quote unquote.
It's only framed in fiction, like the Harbinger.
It's framed in fiction,
but it's all real. It's all real.
But it's also a documentation.
It's hopefully a revelation that you're opening up, like with the Harbinger. The Harbinger had signs that are open up. The Oracle has the doors, and each door, it probably has far more probably than any book except the Book of Mysteries of mysteries of God, but all leading up and all leading behind everything that is our lives too. Not only it's end time prophecy, where we are, where are we going?
Everybody, I think, has a general idea about the times. Anyone who believes that we're living in the last days, they talk about 1897. 1917, 1947, 1967.
Yes.
They talk about all those years.
Yes, that's part of the mystery. That's in the mystery. Every one of them.
I think everybody has an idea about that.
Yeah.
But you go a little deeper.
Yeah, it's not just a feeling that, hey, we're in these times and we've seen some things. God is exact, and he's behind and behind everything we see. Even things that are against God, God uses. I mean, God uses all things to this day, but it's exact, it's precise, it's the hand of God, it's the same God. The same God in the Bible. We read in the Bible and we expect it there, but what about in our time? We are living in biblical times. It's prophetic times. And the same God, as he moved in that way with kings and kingdoms and empire, he has moved the same way. Even the rise of America as a superpower is linked to the mystery.
And the mystery, of course, is only a mystery to those who essentially don't want to have anything to do with it.
Or until it's revealed.
And most people, I think, don't these days. They're very busy with life. They're the exigencies of everyday living, et cetera, without knowing that this clock beneath everything is just going tick, tick, and we were, as you say, we're living in biblical
And I think
times.
that's important because a lot of times for believers, it looks like everything's out of control. Things are going bad.
Exactly.
The culture is going against the Lord, and the culture is laughing at things. And so that's why I think it's very important to bring that these things come out because, wait, no. I mean, for believer and unbeliever alike, the oracle's not just for believers, for unbelievers as well. That God is truly real. When he gives a word, it will come true, and it's more real than the world.
The fourth door.
The fourth door, okay.
We're ready for the fourth door.
All right, we're ready. Okay. In the fourth door, we're going to open up the mysteries of the one's called the Persian, which I won't get into, but it's a mystery behind an American president. We will get to the current president, but there's a mystery behind an American president. We spoke about Truman. That is total amazing biblical template. There's also there's a mystery called the Man Who Was, and there's also the mystery of the scrolls. But we won't have time to do that. But let's touch on something. I think you'll be very blessed. First of all, keep in mind that whatever nation is going to support Israel, God's going to raise it up. It was the British Empire in 1917. He raised it up to the peak of its expanse. But then England turned against Israel, and what happened? God raised up America at the very moment to be there. So even the rise of America is part of the mystery of God, but also in this sense. But now there was a man called Theodor Herzl. Of course, many of you people know. He's the visionary of Israel. And years before, this is turn of the century, he has the vision for Israel. He's called the Father. He gathers a Congress together called the First World Zionist Congress. And they say we're going to have a nation. It's all by faith. We have a flag, all by faith. We have an anthem, no nation, but they have that. So, but the thing is, when it ended, he wrote down a prophecy. And he said, he said, in 50 years, definitely in 50 years, the world will know it. Now he said, today we founded Israel. No, but people would laugh. But in 50 years, so now, when did he do it? 1897.
Right.
Count 50 years. Where does it bring you? And by the way, 50 years is a jubilee. It's a jubilee. This is another different jubilee, but again, jubilee. So 50 years takes you to 1947. 1947, the United Nations votes Israel into existence. Now, I found something even deeper, Gary. When I looked at the date of when the resolution was received by the United Nations for Israel to become a nation. And the resolution is dated September 3rd. It's on the document. September 3rd. Herzl's prophecy, he wrote it on September 3rd, 1897. That means it came true to 50 years to the day, the Jubilee to the day. I mean, that's how exact God is.
That's amazing.
Now, there's so much, by the way, we talked about appointed scriptures that God has that actually come true, that are proclaimed throughout the modern time. I will mention that when they voted Israel into existence, there was an appointed scripture that spoke about it amazingly, but I will talk about this. Israel was born on May 14th, May 15th. They declared it on May 14th. May 15th, it came into existence. It was a Friday when it was proclaimed. It was a Saturday when it came into. So that's a Sabbath. Mm-hmm. That means there was an appointed scripture that all over the world, scrolls were being opened on that day to recite and proclaim the appointed word for that day, May 14th and May 15th, that Sabbath. What was it? Is it any significance? Amazing what it was. The appointed word on the day of Israel's birth, appointed for that day, before it was even planned, was the prophecy of God saying, I will raise up the fallen tabernacle of David.
That is astounding because when the apostles were talking, they said there will be a day when the tabernacle of David is restored.
Yes, it starts. I mean, and there's levels of meaning, but certainly Israel.
Book of Acts.
Certainly Israel, and it says in that day. So it was appointed for that day, and that was appointed for May 14th, May 15th. And in that prophecy, it says, I will end their exile. I will bring them back to the land. They will plant the land, and it will bloom. Nobody will uproot them. Everybody was trying to uproot them, but they survived. But it was all there. And so just get this. I mean, people talk about how real God is. All around the world, it's being chanted on that day. It's being proclaimed in Hebrew. When it's happening, God is raising up the fallen tabernacle. I mean, amazing. Now, let me give you one more from the third door. Okay, just one more. There's much more, but I'll just give you one more because we'll get to the fourth. This is the Jubilean code. Okay, and here's the thing. Amazing. In that ordinance of the Jubilee that we spoke about, when it came through Moses over 3,000 years ago, it says in that ordinance, it says, you shall return. You shall return. Now it's talking about the Jubilee. You shall return to the land. One of them says you shall return to your ancestral land. Everyone shall return. So whatever you lost, you return. But that's the first time that God says to Israel, you shall return, plural, to the nation. You shall return. He's talking to everybody. Could there be something hidden there? It's an amazing thing now. And this is not, sometimes people look for numbers and everything, and that's not what this is. Let me tell you what this is. It's an amazing thing. The word you shall return, in Hebrew, it's just one word. It's tashuvu. Tashuvu. You shall return. Mm-hmm. Now, in the Hebrew calendar, the Hebrew year is different from the Western year. We know that. It's 5,000 something. But also, to write a Hebrew year, you use letters. The official way is letters.
Right.
The letters all have numbers, and that's how. This is not a mystical thing. This is how the official way of writing a year in Hebrew is with letters. The letters have numbers. Aleph is 1, Bet is 2. Others are tens and hundreds, and okay. So here's the amazing thing, Gary. When the first time God said to Israel, "You shall return," in that Jubilean ordinance, here's the code. It says, "You shall return." Tashuvu. There's a number that it adds up to. The number adds up to points is the year 1948. You shall return 1948. Israel returns. Amazing. In fact, there's even a mystery I won't go into here that links to the millennium, which is it's saying it'll happen in the 6th millennium, which is the exact time. Who could do that? I mean, that's embedded from Moses. So, okay, now
and by the way, the books of Moses, first 5 books of the Bible, are astounding. And I think most people don't study them. Most Christians would be really astounded to know just how precise they are.
It's everything.
Precise to the last dot.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about the last dot right to the year that shows you. I mean, everything it begins there. And by the way, it's the books of Moses. That's the major scroll that where the appointed words come from. And then you have the prophets. Now let's go to. I'm just touching. I can understand. Those listening, I can only touch on what's in the oracle. But let's go to the fourth door. Okay. So now let's go back to and we're going to the major thing. That was a kind of a special thing there with a 50 year. But now we saw 1867, planting of seeds, strange things in the land. Then we had 50th year is 1917. The land is released from Ottoman Empire, is promised to the Jewish people, Balfour Declaration. What happens if you count the 50th year? It's going to take you to, what's the next Jubilean year? 1967. So even if you didn't know anything, all you knew was the mystery, it's saying in 1967 there's going to be an event that's going to be linked to Israel returning to its ancestral possession. What was that? It happens. The 6-day war happens, and Jerusalem happens. For the first time in 2,000 years, Israeli soldiers enter the gates of Jerusalem, and Israel returns to its ancestral possession. Now, let me give you. I'll give you a few quick things. In this mystery, you have the mystery of the priests, the mystery of the Nazir. I won't even say what that is. The Babylonian code, and much more. But I'll open up just a little bit. There's a mystery of Masada. Masada was the last place that Israel. It was its last stand against the Romans. So it's the grave of ancient Israel. I mean, that's where they died in a sense. That's when the Roman soldiers wiped them out. Well, amazing. It's a mountain in the desert, but amazing thing is that there actually was a scripture hidden on the top of Masada. It's been there for 2,000 years. And so you have the Jewish people wandering and there's all that time in their grave is a scripture in their grave. And for what happens is now Israel comes back to the land, and they decide at one time, people don't know, but at one time they're going to go back to Masada. They go back to Masada to uncover it. So the nation is going back to its ancient grave. Okay, and so they're going to open up the grave. As they open up Masada, they find the ancient scripture there, and the scripture, as they open it up, they fulfill the scripture. And the scripture, I will tell you this much: the scripture was a scripture that God put there of a prophecy that is a prophecy of the resurrection of Israel. God says, I will open your grave. So God put in the grave, I will open your grave for when they come back. And Gary, I won't get into this, but there's something in the oracle called the Masada algorithm. And I'll just say this. If you take from that moment they open up Masada, it's going to tell you when they're going to regain Jerusalem. And it's an amazing thing because it's going to lead you to the exact date, the exact June 7th from Masada. I won't go into it, but it's going to lead you to the exact day that the Israeli soldiers go in. Okay, we won't go into it. But speaking of when they go in, I remember for those who saw the other program, we spoke about, there was a prophecy from Isaiah that talked about the birds, that God says, I will deliver Jerusalem as birds flying. And we saw that in the Jubilee before, that Jerusalem was delivered through Allenby with birds flying, with wings, with air. Well, and there was an appointed word on that day. But now I looked closer on this, Gary, and it doesn't just say as birds fly. God said, it says there, the Lord will fight for Jerusalem. It's right next to they're right together. As a lion, I will fight for Jerusalem. A lion, as a lion. Okay, now the amazing thing. So now you have the next Jubilee. Could it be linked to that? To get Jerusalem, you had a colonel named Ben Ari who circles Jerusalem to secure it. And he's in charge of a brigade called the Harel Brigade. His name, Colonel Ben Ari, means Colonel Lion. His name is the Lion. And the brigade, it says in the prophecy, God will fight as a lion over the mountains of God, the mountain, and his brigade is called the Mountain of the Lord. So you have the lion leading the mountain brigade. Then the one who's in charge of the whole war over Jerusalem is a man named Arik Regev. He's the head in Central Command. He sends the word, take Jerusalem. His name in Hebrew means
Arik,
the lion.
The lion.
He sends the word. The word goes to the intelligence officer who actually planned the successful invasion. His name is Arik Achman. His name is also the lion. He gives word to the head of the paratroopers, and this guy is the hero of Jerusalem. They all know him. His name is Mata Gur. He's standing on the Mount of Olives with his men. He gets the word. He says, men, we're going to do what our ancestors dreamed of. They go, they head down, they go up to the gate, they enter the gate. The name Mata doesn't sound like the other, or Gor doesn't sound like, but Gor means the young lion. Now, in the prophecy from Isaiah, it says God will fight as the lion and the young lion. Now, the first people who come into Jerusalem in the gate is this guy, Mata Gor, and the intelligence officer, Arik Ahmed. And they take the Temple Mount. They're the first two. In the prophecy, it says again, God will fight to this hill, and as a lion and young lion. Their name together means the lion and the young lion, and they're on the holy hill. and let me just throw one more. There's more, but I'll tell you. What the gate that Israel regained Jerusalem, what was the gate? It was the lion's gate. So God says as a lion, amazing. And so as that, and it goes to something very big because Messiah went through the gates of Jerusalem 2,000 years ago as a lamb on the Day of the Lambs. But when he comes back, this Jerusalem, he's coming back as the lion. So it was taken as the lion. I'll share one more from this the fourth door, and that is this. There on the Jubilee, what happens? Everybody, you sound the shofar, the trumpet sounds. Could the trumpet have actually sounded on the moment of Jubilee in the 6-day war, on the year of Jubilee? Amazing thing is, when the Israeli soldiers get to the wall, the trumpet sounds. Why? There's one man who has a trumpet, and he sounds the trumpet. Now, he's not doing it because he's thinking about the Jubilee. He just does it, okay? The guy's name was, he was a rabbi. He was the chaplain. And he always felt this was going to happen. But the amazing thing about it is this. Aside from that, it actually was sounded. But in the Jubilee, Gary, the land that you lost goes back to its original state, its original owner. Mm-hmm. What was the Temple Mount originally in the year of Jubilee? Originally, it was a threshing floor. Yes. And David bought it. David purchased it. He's the only one who bought it. In Hebrew, the word for threshing floor is the word goren. Mm-hmm. The rabbi who blew the shofar is named Rabbi Goren, Rabbi Threshing Floor. Wow. So he's named after, so it's returning to that. And on top of that, Gary, the Rabbi Goren was born in the year 1917, the other Jubilee. It was his 50th year, so he's 50 years. He's sounding it. And one last thing, it'll take 10 seconds. One last thing is, I've only found out recently, his name in Hebrew is Goren, which means threshing floor. But in Poland, where he came from, It's a Jewish name. You know what it means? It means horn, Rabbi Horn, who sounded the horn on the Jubilee.
The shofar.
Yes.
The book is The Oracle by Jonathan Cahn, and I've read the book, and albeit very quickly in preparation for this program, because the book is brand new. It hasn't been around that long, and I'm one of the first people ever to read the book.
You are.
And the thing that staggers my mind is that as long as you've been talking, you haven't discussed this much.
It's the doorknob of the door. Yeah.
There's a lot more in this book, and the book is structured around doors, or 7 doors, and
Revelation.
It is structured upon fulfilled prophecy, as you have discerned it.
And the mystery of God behind everything, even America. It's every single thing. I mean, God is in everything. I'm the first to get blown away by anything, but there is so much that you'll see how real God is, and revealing the past, the present, and where are we now and where are we going. But it's amazing. God is amazing.
The book is The Oracle, $25, free shipping anywhere in the U.S. by Jonathan Cahn. Go to the online bookstore, click on it, and scroll down. You'll find Jonathan's name. You'll find the book, The Oracle, and also you'll find The Oracle Uncensored, this 8 DVD set. And the book is $25. Again, free shipping anywhere in the U.S. The Oracle Uncensored, an 8 DVD set. And Jonathan is an exciting speaker. I think you'll agree, and I think that you'll find this very exciting. It's $50,
and it's 8 one-hour DVDs, and you're going to see the images on there. That it has things that are not in the book. I had 3,000 pages, so I couldn't get that in the book. There are things that are uncensored, including for the first time I've shared the timing and numbers concerning the end. So there are things in there that's really uncensored.
And as we usually do it here at Prophecy Watchers, we have a package, and we're calling it the Mysteries of the Oracle package, the book, the DVD, along with a couple of Jonathan's earlier books, the Book of Mysteries and the paradigm. And all four of these items, yours for a gift of $75, free shipping anywhere in the United States. Jonathan is always on the cutting edge. He's always very exciting. He always stimulates your thinking in terms of Bible prophecy. He looks at prophecy in a way that's a little bit different from other people. We have 3-4 minutes left here.
Yeah.
And let's go ahead and talk about, we've talked about
I will,
the lion.
Yeah. I will mention, well, in the things that we haven't said, there's also something called the Babylonian Code, and I will say that.
And that's exactly what I was going to ask you.
I'll just mention this. It's hard to believe, but it's true, that Nebuchadnezzar is also linked to the Six-Day War. Now, this is thousands of years before, but amazing, because if you look, something that happened with Nebuchadnezzar and Jerusalem is replayed in the Six-Day War, and giving you the exact timing. There's a man called the Nazir. Now, people, we know him in English as the Nazarite. There's a man called the Nazir, and this is another mystery here. And the Nazir is linked to separation, and the Jewish people have been separated from their city of Jerusalem for 2,000 years. So there actually existed a real man who was the Nazir, an actual man who was a Nazarite in Jerusalem. And God does an amazing thing on the day that the separation is ended. He does an amazing thing that involves the man called the Nazir to really seal that the separation is over. One of the keys also with Jerusalem is the priesthood. The priesthood is linked to Jerusalem. Could the priests of Israel be involved with what happened in 1967? The answer is amazingly yes. There were priests involved. Not that anybody knew it, and not that people are trying to put that together, but it's amazing. God is in every detail. I'll give you a little bit more with the Babylonian Code, and here this is the thing. When Nebuchadnezzar, when he came against Jerusalem, some people take this as the time of the Gentiles beginning. Mm-hmm. He comes there and he subdues Jerusalem. So Israel loses its sovereignty over its city. It now becomes a vassal city. Then later on, they rebel, and as you know, the Babylonians come in one more time. This time, they destroy the entire nation. The nation ends. The kingdom of Judah ends, the 586 BC. How long was it between the two events? One is when they first subdued Jerusalem.
I have a feeling you're going to tell us.
Okay, I will, as long as we have time. How long was it between those two events? Well, the thing is that you have the sovereignty of Jerusalem is lost, and then you have the destruction of the nation.
Right.
19 years. 19 years. It says in the Bible, in the 19th year of Nebuchadnezzar. He became king just at that time. And the amazing thing is, so now when was this undone? See, the Jubilee, God, he reverses things. It's resurrection. He undoes things. When was it undone? When did Israel come back as a nation? 1948. When is the 19th year? 1967. It's the same 19-year period. And it's the 19-year period between the two. And it's the same thing that happened, because you have on one end of the 19 years, you have Jerusalem's sovereignty being restored, and at the other end, you have the nation that was destroyed coming back into existence, except it's reverse. God is reversing it. You have Israel comes back into existence, and then at the end, it gets Jerusalem. God is so precise.
Patterns.
Yes, and I won't go into it, but you can even narrow it down to like the week by Nebuchadnezzar, and it happens that week.
The Oracle. It's based on a series of mysteries based upon the Jubilee. In fact, that's a subtitle, the Jubilean Mysteries. A Jubilee being 50 years, and I think probably most Christians who have studied the Bible have encountered the idea of the Jubilee, but you go way beyond.
And it's going to take it's not just a nice year, it's all of end time prophecy is linked to this, from the beginning to the end. The next time we're together, we're going to get to right now and the future. So it's going to take us to right where we are right now.
And we're going to be talking about the fifth door.
The fifth door.
And beyond.
And the sixth. And we'll probably just mention the seventh.
Jonathan Cahn, his thinking is quite different, I think, than most Christian authors. In fact, when it comes to linking Israel and the things of the Lord and the things of the church, he's done some remarkable work, and I think it's worth your time to read The Oracle by Jonathan Cahn. I'm Gary Stearman. Here at Prophecy Watchers, hey, we're watching. Always watching. And people like Jonathan help us watch. So you keep watching too. Thanks for joining us on Prophecy Watchers. You can find us on the web at prophecywatchers.com, where you can sign up for our free email newsletter, or follow us at facebook.com/prophecywatchers. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.